Okay, let's talk about the connection between platelet and serotonin. There's one very important and crucial step that we need to know about this conjugation is that platelet and serotonin are kind of connected, right? So whenever we take some sort of drugs which is a serotonin agonist, or in by some other ways, let's say there is increased amount of serotonin in the blood, right? So let's say any case which increases this 5-HT or serotonin. So the more and more amount of free form of this serotonin will be available in the blood vessels. Once in the blood vessels, this serotonin has two fates by which it can connect with the platelets and it can cause certain function, right? So our platelet, right? Let's redraw this path. So we have a platelet. Now this platelet has two different types of receptors. First receptor is an SERT receptor. So let's say we have this receptor, serotonin reuptake receptor. This is called as SERT, serotonin reuptake receptors, right? Now when this right, so when this serotonin binds to SERT, it will give some effect. It can again bind to some other receptor that I'll tell you, right? It can give off some other kind of function, right? Yeah, so this was our serotonin, right? It bound to the SERT and produce some effect, right? So other receptor is the 5-HT2A receptor. Let's make it slightly bigger and different, right? It is like this. So this receptor is 5-HT2A receptor. So again, there are different types of 5-HT2A receptors, 2A, 2B, and so and so, right? This is the second type of serotonin receptor. Again, there are different wholesome class for the serotonin. So our serotonin can bind over here as well, right? So possibility number one. Possibility one says that whenever a serotonin binds with SERT in the platelet, this causes so this was our SERT. When this molecule binds to the SERT, it causes its engulfation. Okay, so this whole serotonin will be engulfed inside, right? It will be engulfed inside of a platelet, causing it to be inside of a cycle, right? So now this serotonin is inside of a cycle. Now what will happen during platelet activation, right? So let's say during activation, and this activation can be any of the pathways, external pathway, internal pathway, during a vascular injury, right? That is a vascular injury. This vesicle fuses with the membrane, right? And this causes the serotonin to come outside within a blood vessels once again, right? So this is a blood vessels, right? And once it's released, it causes this 5-HT. This 5-HT causes this vasoconstriction and play a role in hemostasis, right? So there are again different steps of hemostasis. within our system. One of the most crucial and early stage is the stage of vasoconstriction. And now we know why the vasoconstriction occur. Though there are some other several pathways by which vasoconstriction occur, platelet and serotonin pathways one of the pathways. So among other pathways by which vasoconstriction occur, 5-HT and PLT pathway is one of those other pathways to induce vasoconstriction. This vasoconstriction again has very important function to decrease the blood loss in our system, right? Now there is a second possibility. Possibility number 2. We know that this platelet has a big receptor, right? Big receptor for serotonin. Whenever it binds, it forms a complex that is 5-HT2A and serotonin receptor. Serotonin is this and this is this. Once this complex is produced, it looks somewhat like this. This complex is sticky. Making other platelets to stick. Again, there are also several other pathways by which platelets aggregate, but this pathway is again one of those pathways, right? However, we don't study about this pathway so much. Why? Because this complex is a weak platelet aggregator, right? Now when this will happen, platelet will aggregate and causes a condition where it can cause bigger clots, right? Bigger clots or thrombus formation. This thrombus formation can cause stroke, MI, DVT, etc. So, along with the two other mechanisms, that is by ADP and thromboxane A2, this pathway of serotonin and PLT, this works synergistically or together, alongside the ADP and the thromboxane A2 pathways, and this both the things causes overall platelet aggregation. So let's say we inhibited this pathway, we somehow inhibited this pathway, but still there will be a chance that the platelet will still aggregate by this pathway, right? So overall, whenever we give a person some sort of let's say 5-HT agonists, right? For example, the triptans, right? Classic example, sumatriptan. Sumatriptans are during a migraine, right? So a long-term use, again, it's not like a single dosage thing that will causes a problem within a person, but a long-term use, higher dose. So two things: long-term dosage, long-term usage, and high dose will high long-term usage and high dose will have little chance that it will causes the manifestation. It will causes a little chance of what? It will have a little chance. It will have a little chance of these three things, and it can be deadly. However, because it's a weak platelet aggregator, the chances may not be that high, but still there can be a chance, right? So this doesn't mean that we shouldn't avoid these drugs. But the main motto is that whenever we prescribe a 5-HT agonist, right? Whenever we prescribe a 5-HT agonist, now these 5-HT agonists can be of different types, right? So metoclopramide can be there, particularly 5-HT two types of receptor. These two types of receptors can again, LoRa, caserin can be there, psilocybin can be there, and so and so. Particularly the 5-HT agonist, even in more particular 5-HT 1 and 2 are main culprits for this condition. Right. So whenever we prescribe this agonist, keep two things in mind, right? First of all, the comorbidities of the patient, whether the patient have some sort of problems already or not. Comorbidities. Okay, that whether the person have some cardiovascular incident early previously in life or not. And secondly, can we switch to some other drugs? If we can, you can switch the drugs, right? So some properties we must keep in mind before using the 5-HT agonist. So yeah, this was one of the concept, kind of important concept, but so much neglected in the series of pharmacology. Anyways, this was the platelet and serotonin concept. Right.